Burpee time. 300 burpees to do. Gonna get started from 1 to 100 right now. Let's get it. Here we go. Down.
What the winds and a swarm of one-way plows
1.
have done on the prairie. There would be no magical
2.
engineered solution. Some believed so, of course.
3.
Congress authorized a plan to reverse the flow of
4.
water under the Continental Divide, an attempt to create a
5.
hydraulic savior, moving west to east through
6.
In Oklahoma, politicians were
7.
so insistent on choking off the little flow of the Cimarron River
8.
to create an impound of water near Guyman. Others thought the
9.
solution was to go deep, dig far below the surface,
10.
and mine the great underground reservoir of ancient water,
11.
the Ogallala Aquifer. Deep wells
12.
drilled for oil or gas had found a ready source of water
13.
500 feet or below. Bring it up, many county
14.
leaders told Bennett during his tour of the Dust Bowl. If
15.
rain would not come from the sky, it could come from the ground.
16.
The Ogallala was there for the taking, just like the grassland
17.
itself 30 years earlier. Bring it up.
18.
4 million acres of farmland were empty, abandoned, with
19.
no takers, not even resettlement, whose mission was to buy back
20.
land. From the start, Bennett thought the answer
21.
was getting people to treat the prairie soil on its own terms.
22.
A great plow up in reverse. Conserve what farmland could
23.
be saved through new methods of contour plowing, crop rotation,
24.
and soil conservation districts. For other lands,
25.
the ground could be seeded, and in time, the southern plains would have its
26.
grasslands back. Perhaps. Bennett,
27.
whose graduate degree was in chemistry, was not given to policy speculation.
28.
He was a man of science. Look at the facts, draw the right
29.
conclusions. But he was in new territory. They all were.
30.
There were no historic models. Roosevelt
31.
asked for an honest verdict. Why had the
32.
Great Plains blown away? What made this land
33.
die? The crisis of the transient prairie had
34.
already cost depression-strapped taxpayers an enormous sum.
35.
$500 million since 1933. On remedial
36.
land projects, grants, loans, and relief.
37.
Before spending any more money, the president wanted to know if the plains could
38.
be saved. And if so, how? Roosevelt
39.
also asked whether the arid flatlands should have been settled.
40.
Had it been a colossal mistake to allow homesteading on the land? Was
41.
the Jeffersonian small farmer, small town, agri-citizen
42.
model a horrible fit for the grasslands? Had this environmental
43.
catastrophe, the worst in American history, been aided by government?
44.
The report of the Great Plains Drought Area Committee
45.
was delivered to the president on August 27, 1936.
46.
It was labeled personal and confidential.
47.
Signed first by Bennett and then 7 agency heads.
48.
An extended memo, The Future of the Great Plains, was due at the
49.
end of the year. But this shorter report showed where the
50.
committee was going. The conclusions were stark. The climate had not changed. This refuted a theory
51.
Roosevelt had been mulling for some time, that the plains were in the first
52.
years of a 100-year cycle of change. The plains had suffered a severe
53.
drought, no argument there, but dry times were part of prairie life dating back
54.
months. An accompanying map showed the president what was obvious
55.
to any student of American geography. The nation's midsection,
56.
west of the 98th meridian, from the Canadian border to Mexico, received
57.
only 20 inches of yearly rainfall or less.
58.
With simply not enough rain to raise crops.
59.
No matter how much dust mulching or other dry farming gimmicks were
60.
promoted, and it was why banks for so long had refused to lend
61.
money in this arid zone. During the drought, the dry states had
62.
received anywhere from 5 to 12 inches annually.
63.
There is no reason to believe that the primary factors of climate,
64.
temperature, precipitation, and winds in the Great Plains region
65.
have undergone any fundamental change, the report stated.
66.
The problem of the Great Plains is not the product of a single act of nature,
67.
of a single year, or even a series of exceptionally bad years.
68.
What then was the cause? Mistaken public
69.
policies have been largely responsible for the situation, the report proclaimed.
70.
Specifically, a mistaken homesteading policy. The
71.
stimulation of wartime demands which led to overcropping and
72.
overgrazing, and encouragement of a system of agriculture which could
73.
not be both permanent and prosperous. For Roosevelt,
74.
who believed in human initiative aided by government goodwill as a guiding force,
75.
these words were hard to take. His most trusted aide on the land,
76.
and a host of experts were telling him that people, not weather or bad
77.
luck, had caused the problem. What's more, in an additional
78.
blow to Roosevelt's humanitarian impulses, the experts said a big part of
79.
what ailed could not be fixed by man. The basic cause
80.
of the present Great Plains situation is an attempt to impose upon the region a system
81.
of agriculture to which the plains are not adapted. The report
82.
stated. The Great Plains has climatic attributes which cannot
83.
be altered by any act of man, although they may be slowly changed for
84.
better or worse by natural weather cycles which we cannot yet predict.
85.
The report moved on to how the disaster had unfolded, a chronology
86.
of collapse. One chart showed how quickly the grass was overturned.
87.
In 1979, 10 million acres were plowed. 50 years later,
88.
the total was 100 million acres. Grass was needed
89.
to hold the soil in place. It was nature's way of adapting to the basic conditions of the plains.
90.
The high wind and low rainfall. Buffalo grass in particular, short
91.
and drought resistant, was nature's refinement over centuries. The turf
92.
was intact for thousands of years, and then, in two
93.
manic periods of exploitation, the cattle boom, followed by the
94.
wheat boom, it was ripped apart. Thus, there was not only a
95.
progressive breaking up of the native sod, but a thinning out of the grass cover on
96.
lands not yet plowed. But having placed the blame for the flyaway plains on the farming
97.
equivalent of the gold rush, Bennett and his colleagues did not then fault the individuals
98.
who brought the plow that broke the land. The settlers lacked both the
99.
knowledge and incentive necessary to avoid these mistakes. They were misled
100.
by those who should have been their natural guides. The federal homestead policy, which kept land allotments low and required that a portion of each should be plowed, is now seen to have caused immeasurable harm. The
All right,
Homestead
that's
Act
100.
1862,
Got 200 more to
limiting
go.
an individual holding to
The goal is
160
300 a
acres,
day
was, on the Western
and
Plains,
to lose 40
almost
pounds.
an obligatory act of poverty.
So we're getting there slowly but surely.
This was the most
Stay
damning
consistent.
indictment. The Sacred Homestead Act, almost an obligatory act of poverty. Technology and speculation came in for their share of blame. Wartime demand drove up prices,
All right.
stimulating record production. The prices could not hold, leaving farmers to plow more ground as the only way to break even. And these bountiful years
All right.
happened at the beginning of a wet period which has apparently been terminated. Had
So here we
farmers
go.
tried to settle the arid
Starting
plains
at
40 years earlier when it was more
101,
typically dry,
going through to
they never would have
200.
broken ground.
Next set,
The
100
dust
straight.
storms of 1934 and
Here we go.
1935 have been visible evidence to nearly every American
Down.
living east of the Rocky Mountains that something is seriously wrong.
101.
The extent of the erosion on the Great Plains
2.
has not yet been accurately measured. It is
3.
safe to say that 80% of it is now
4.
in some stage of erosion. Roosevelt
5.
action plans, programs that could be carried out quickly,
6.
grandly mobilizing big forces toward a common
7.
goal. We are definitely in the era of
8.
building, he said in a speech. The building of
9.
public projects for the benefit of the public and with the
10.
definite objective of building human happiness.
11.
The report said there was no easy solution. This is a situation
12.
that will not, by any possibility, cure itself. A series of wet years might postpone the
13.
destructive process, yet in the end, by raising false hopes and by encouraging removal
14.
of mistaken agricultural practices, might accelerate it. And why should a
15.
city person care about this wreckage of lives and land? The
16.
situation is so serious that the nation, for its own sake, cannot afford
17.
to allow the farmer to fail, the report concluded. We
18.
endanger our democracy if we allow the Great Plains or any other section
19.
of the country to become an economic desert.
20.
It was enough to keep Roosevelt up nights. Failed Homestead Acts,
21.
settlers misled, a speculative frenzy, and now the retreat.
22.
10,000 people a month leaving the Great Plains, the
23.
greatest single exodus in American history. He took to the airwaves,
24.
sounding pained and conflicted. In a radio chat on September 6,
25.
1936, too early in the calendar to claim to be from his fireside,
26.
he tried to inspire people to hold on. No cracked earth,
27.
no blistering sun, no burning wind, no grasshoppers,
28.
are a permanent match for the indomitable American farmers and stockmen and
29.
their wives and children, who have carried us through desperate days and inspire us
30.
with their self-reliance, their tenacity, and their courage. It was an election
31.
year, and Roosevelt was extremely popular. Europe was tense,
32.
with Hitler consolidating power and fortifying his military in Germany, and the Spanish Civil
33.
War a staging ground for the larger battle to come. Consumed by its domestic
34.
crisis, the United States declared neutrality in the affairs of Europe. The Republicans
35.
ran Kansan, Governor Alf Landon, the only GOP governor west of the
36.
Mississippi. Landon said Roosevelt had no idea how to fix the Great Plains and was taking the country
37.
in a radical direction. Most Americans felt otherwise. The election
38.
was a rout. Roosevelt carried every state but Maine and Vermont, winning
39.
the Electoral College by the largest margin ever, 523.
40.
And the popular vote by more than 10 million, with 60% of the electorate.
41.
Late in his life, Landon was asked about the New Deal and its lasting
42.
effect on the country. He said it, quote, saved
43.
our society. The High Plains, like the rest of the country, had given
44.
a to Roosevelt. People wrote to him as if he were an uncle, the one who always
45.
had an answer. Please, do something to help us
46.
save our country, where one time we were all so happy. A
47.
Plainswoman, Mary Gallagher, wrote. FDR went back to Bennett and others at
48.
work on the larger report of the future of the dusted land. What was next? They had more of the same.
49.
The past had been a failure. Nature was abused.
50.
Storms were the consequence. Don't count on rain to save it. Nature has established a
51.
balance in the Great Plains. An early draft of the second report concluded. The white
52.
man has disturbed this balance. He must restore it, or
53.
devise a new one of his own. Here was an echo of Aldo Leopold's groundbreaking conservation essay
54.
of 1933. They even quoted him, citing the interdependence of people and other
55.
species, Earth, and technology. Bennett's agency was ready to start
56.
planting the first sections of new sod on the stripped land. But many questions remain.
57.
How could grass ever get started during a marathon of drought? What species
58.
would survive? How long would it take for the sod to build up resilient as in the past? Were there
59.
enough nutrients in the soil for grass to take hold? Soil science was basic.
60.
Agronomists could tell the makeup of soil, its composition, but no one had ever dreamed of recreating
61.
an entire ecosystem. The new grass would have to live or die on the nutrient-poor
62.
land after it was settled with basic erosion therapy. The nesters had removed
63.
a perennial plant, a perfect fit for flat, wind-scraped land,
64.
and replaced it with a weak annual. The government bought 107,000
65.
acres in a dead corner of Kansas that drained into the Cimarron River, just over the
66.
state line from no man's land, and designated it as the first patch in the rebuilding
67.
of the Great American Grassland. They planted a mixture.
68.
Weeds to hold the ground down, grass from Africa, blue grama, blue stem,
69.
buffalo grass, and other flora. It would take time, 10,
70.
20, maybe 50 years before a new big swath of turf was in place again.
71.
Roosevelt still wanted something dramatic, something quicker, a grand
72.
early dam for the soil. His big idea of planting trees down the middle
73.
of America had taken on a life of its own after the Forest Service came back with a positive
74.
report. The president had been mocked since he first talked up his vision. A belt
75.
of trees 100 miles wide, stretching from the North Dakota border with Canada to
76.
just south of Amarillo, Texas. Trees could not stop the dust, but they could provide
77.
shelter from black blizzards, enough so people could get a crop in. He hoped
78.
the project could accomplish three things: break up the wind, check erosion,
79.
employ thousands of people. Some also said the trees would produce more
80.
rain, though this promise was never written into the enabling law. And in pushing for government-subsidized tree planting in
81.
flatlands, Roosevelt was hearkening back to an earlier American law, the Timber Culture Act,
82.
which allowed people to claim a significantly larger homestead if they
83.
agreed to plant and maintain trees on a portion of the land. A tree planting crew was dispatched
84.
to Oklahoma, east of no man's land. Roosevelt's big idea was underway.
85.
This will be the largest project ever undertaken in the country to modify climate and agricultural
86.
conditions, said F.A. Silcox, chief of the Forest Service. He apparently
87.
had not read the warnings of the Great Plains Report, the cautions against trying to remake
88.
the climate. The tree planters were CCC crews, young men hungry for
89.
an 11-man team could plant 6,000 trees a day.
90.
Nesters stared at these earnest new dealers dropping saplings
91.
in soil, planting trees like crops
92.
in rows running north and south, filling the
93.
tanks with big gas-hauling trucks with water to give the trees a
94.
start. Damn fools, the nesters said.
95.
Nobody plants a tree on the prairie facing north and south.
96.
After a time, the crew shifted and planted
97.
rows running east and west, a more effective wind barrier.
98.
Trees would bring people together, make it easier
99.
to live, some of the experts said. Social change
200.
hardwood. We are going to improve living conditions, said Charles Scott, who was in charge of the Shelter Belt program in Kansas. We want to make conditions livable.
It's 200.
We want to develop a rural sociability, a rural happiness, a rural contentment, which we think such plantings will bring about. The goal was to plant 180,000 acres a year, mostly on private land, which the owner would then take responsibility for. The trees were planted in strips up to a mile apart, up to 100 strips within the width of the shelter belt. Farming would take place between the strips.
All right. That's 200 out of 300. We got 100 more to go. Probably gonna break it up into sets. Let's see how much time. It's been 20 minutes so far. Not too bad. Yep, so the goal is to do 300 burpees live for 6 weeks. And I'm working on week 3 right now. Yeah, I'm over halfway through week 3. I think Thursday will be the completion of week 3. My goal is to lose 40 pounds. I'm about 15 pounds down already. So the hardest thing is the diet. That's always going to be the hardest part, is just sacrifice and self-control. the work. This is actually way easier than dieting. And if you think this is easy, you should try it. You know, some people have opinions, but I say try it. See if you can do 300 just push-up style burpees in 30 minutes. And if you can, that's great. If you can't, just try to do it in 40 minutes. You'll see it's not that easy. It's mostly cardio. But my shoulders really start burning after about 80 or so. Yeah, so I'm gonna break these last 100 up. I think I'll do 2 sets of 50, like I have been doing it that way. So it works pretty good. So yeah, here we go. Going from 201 to 250. Here we go.
One government scientist who had been sent to the Gobi Desert
Three,
to study what
two,
could grow on
one,
sterile soil
down.
came back with several species. Another returned from the
201.
Sahara with suggestions. Adjustments were made based on advice
2.
from nesters. Into the ground went
3.
cottonwoods, honey locusts, hackberries, ash,
4.
walnuts, ponderosa pines, and Chinese elms.
5.
The trees held through that first winter.
6.
And by late spring of 1937,
7.
as the dusters started up with the ferocious
8.
seasonal winds, Roosevelt sent the crews out again.
9.
The president ignored the warnings of Hugh Bennett and
210.
others who said man could not alter the basic nature of the Great Plains. Bennett could have
11.
his fledgling new grassland and soil conservation districts.
12.
Roosevelt bulled ahead with the idea that had most captivated him from the
13.
start. He dispatched his army to half a dozen states,
14.
to the most broken communities, the most barren farms, the
15.
driest land, with a simple command. Plant
16.
trees, 200 million of them, from the top of
17.
the plains to the bottom.
18.
Chapter 22, Cornhusker.
19.
At year's end, Don Hartwell was
20.
worried about his health, his long shadow of debt, the dead land, and about an America that still seemed lost 7 years into the Depression.
21.
In his summary of 1936, he wrote in his
22.
diary that it was the driest year ever in Webster County, Nebraska. He
23.
wanted to spend New Year's Eve at a dance in the town of Red Cloud, to put behind him the past
24.
12 months of misery. But a cold drizzle and then a norther packing dust and snow
25.
kept Hartwell and his wife at home near Inavale. They ate cornmeal and ham
26.
and went to bed early. On New Year's Day, he recorded in his diary the simple
27.
facts of life on the farm. The wind at 22 miles an hour, gas selling
28.
for 20 cents a gallon, which meant it took a full day's work at one of the government road jobs to fill up your tank.
29.
Many things of importance have happened, he wrote. And we
30.
are also thankful for some things which did not happen. Ike Osteen had walked away from his dugout in Baga County.
31.
Hazel Shaw had given up on no man's land after losing her baby to the dust.
32.
Sherman Borths had been forced to break up their family, sending the children south to
33.
escape death from pneumonia. But in the Republican River drainage of southern Nebraska,
34.
Don Hartwell tightened his grip on the land, holding on to
35.
it because he had nothing else. At the start of 1937,
36.
about 9 million acres of former homestead land were orphaned in Nebraska.
37.
Hartwell was trying to fend off complete failure, losing the
38.
farm to the bank, losing his wife, all his dreams dissolving.
39.
He still made a little money playing piano in towns on the
40.
Kansas-Nebraska border, banging out dance tunes till early morning. People liked favorites,
41.
old-timey songs, but Hartwell would often end a set with the words, Don't know
42.
why there's no sun up in the sky from stormy weather. And damn if people didn't care to hear
43.
it. Hartwell liked to play it. January 10. Influenza is hanging
44.
like a pall over the country. Hundreds have died in the large cities, and
45.
it is gradually closing in on this country. Smallpox was
46.
the popular disease last winter. January 11.
47.
We have only 2 old sows, 6 fall pigs,
48.
and 5 horses now, and I doubt if we can get feed for them much longer.
49.
So, I don't know. I don't know whether we can
50.
stay here this year. I wish we could see our way clear again. February 14. Well, it's
All right,
Valentine's
that's
Day
250
again.
out of
think
300.
Everyone has a sneaking
Got
desire
50 more to
send
go.
one to someone besides his father or mother
We'll take a
or
quick
other
break.
accredited associates, and has still more desire to get one the same way.
Yep.
But few. Oh, so very few.
My goal is to do 300 burpees on YouTube Live for 6
February
weeks straight.
18. The air is filled with dust today. Very bad.
And then
dust
after that,
storms
to
are
continue
reported
on
in
to
West
lose
Kansas,
40 pounds.
Oklahoma, etc.
After
But
6
that is
weeks,
not unusual for the drought dust and wind
I might
around
make
this
some
country for
adjustments
the last 4 or 5 years.
and continue the
I
lives.
didn't get home from Superior
But,
until 3 a.m. So
That's where I'm at now. I'm almost.
February
Thursday will be a
25.
completion of
In
week
Chicago,
3.
a man
I'm
offered
almost
to give
halfway
away
there
his
on the
baby so he could keep
6-week
his car,
challenge.
and of course there is much righteous indignation. But at least he dares to be honest. I'll bet anything that thousands of others would do the same thing, if only they dared to and could. March 4. It is fair
got
and
50 more to
clear
go.
today. Warm in the afternoon.
Check the comments.
I didn't get home till 2:30 this a.m. But I don't know yet for sure what we are going to do
That's
this
right.
year. And I don't know
All right.
where or how we can borrow any more money to keep going on this year. March 6th.
Yeah, man.
I haven't felt extra well for the last 2 weeks. Our yard is bare as the road. I sowed bluegrass last spring.
Yeah, I have
but
been doing
last summer's
burpees
drought
for like
killed it out.
every day.
March
Every day for
18th.
over 3 years, but I quit
We're still wondering what we are going to
dieting
do
at
this
all.
year.
And I was just doing
We,
100
like
burpees
the
a day.
rest, have nothing left to mortgage to keep
So.
farming, so I don't know. A terrible schoolhouse explosion.
That kept me at like the
in
very
London,
minimal
Texas.
level of
450
fitness,
killed.
but
Some of our tulips are coming
still allowed me to gain weight,
up. March 30.
which I did want to gain weight,
Herman and I went to
but,
Harry Chaplin's sale. A big
took it a
crowd
little
was
bit
there.
too far.
He, like many others, has lived
So
here
now I
many
have to
years,
do this
but also, like many others, is being forced
work
out
and
of
sacrifice
the country
to,
by the continuous
lose this
drought
gut.
of the last few years. April 4.
If you look at my
Some
videos
people
from like
live in hopes of
2-3 years ago,
I
I was pretty shredded, I had a six-pack, everything. But I was like,
popular belief, very many of the
very
things we
light.
live in fear
You know, I
of
wanted to gain some weight, I wanted to get
happen.
bigger. And so I did.
April 10.
I started
did some
eating,
disking in the field west of
and,
the feed yard
never
in the
stopped eating.
afternoon. The first disking I have done this year.
Alright,
You know, from one
got
day
50 more to go. Let's go ahead and knock them out
we'll
from
do this year.
251 up to 300.
April 14.
So I can get on with my day. I got things to do. So here we go.
All the time. I did
3,
some disking on
2,
the west bottom in the
1.
afternoon. But I don't
Hand
know
down.
if and how we can stay here this summer.
251.
Very encouraging to try to do very much. Very warm.
2,
April 15. Well,
3,
my hunch concerning last year proved to be
4,
correct. 1936 was one of the most
5,
complete failures ever known, even here.
6,
The alfalfa and corn I put in last year was utterly destroyed by
7,
winds, except a little fodder on the bottom.
8,
April 16. The big alfalfa fields which used to
9,
be so common in this country are all gone now. Just bare, windswept,
60,
fenced
260.
fields remain. April 24.
1,
Today is the worst so far this year.
62,
A mild gale from the northwest and blinding dust.
63,
Won't do much, and it doesn't look as though there was any use of doing
64,
much anyway. Wind, dust, and drought are getting
65,
worse every day. April 30.
66,
April is ending. I wonder if we ever will live here another April.
67,
May 20. The dust still hangs in the air, and the drought is
68.
getting worse all the time. I planted corn on the west bottom. The heat
69.
1 to 3 p.m. May 25. Well,
70.
planting corn until I start replanting it. It seems nothing grows for me even after
71.
I've planted. The air still is sort of hazy and dusty, but clouds gathered in the
72.
southwest at 6 p.m. Verna and I went in the cellar for a while.
73.
May 29. Went to Red Cloud. We took our
74.
lawnmower and rake along and cleaned up the cemetery lots. I went to Riverton to play for a dance.
75.
There. I doubt if I go again. June 1. I finished
76.
replanting corn today, I guess. June 19.
77.
Today was as mean as one could ask for. A driving southwest wind,
78.
dust coming in clouds from the river, and at 6 p.m., a vague,
79.
dusty cloud from the northwest which passed with a few drops of rain. A crowd gathered for
80.
an outdoor picture show, but none was held. June 22. The drought really got
81.
going today. I weeded the corn north of the feed yard, but the horses have taken
82.
to getting out, so I don't know just how I will get along.
83.
Bad luck seems to follow me. July 2.
84.
I laid a thermometer on the ground at the base of a hill of corn today.
85.
It registered 137 degrees. July 4. Today is
86.
Sunday and the 4th of July. A quiet combination in Ida Vale. Clear
87.
sky, a blazing sun. I swept and dusted in the forenoon. We
88.
had cherry pie for dinner. We didn't go anywhere. We used to years ago, but
89.
those days are gone. Forever, I guess.
290.
July 7. The drought still continues its way of destruction and despair.
91.
First, the alfalfa seed didn't come up.
92.
Because of the drought. Now nearly all the cane I sowed is
93.
destroyed, and it is now starting to destroy the corn.
94.
Corn is damaged about 20%.
95.
July 14. Some Russian
96.
aviators flew from Moscow to California over the
97.
North Pole today. That would be easy compared to
98.
raising corn in Webster County, Nebraska.
99.
July 15. I placed a thermometer out in the field beside
300.
the corn. It registered 140 degrees. No wonder things.
Alright, that's 300. That's what I got for today. Also, we have a Zoom group where we meet every evening and do 100 burpees on live all together. It's for all fitness levels. Everyone's invited. Just reach out to me on Instagram at Sabo405 and I can give you the link and the schedule. It's every day. It's every single day at 8 p.m. Central Time. And I'm there like 95% of the time, you know. Maybe last night I was at my daughter's basketball game. But even if it ends on time or if I can, I'll break away and I'll still get in the Zoom group and do the burpees. Yeah, it's a great group of people, you know. Yeah, yeah, man, burpees is great cardio. There's all different styles of burpees, all different variations that you can do. We'll usually do a couple different variations each night. But and some of the guys are in amazing shape. Like they're killing it, man. Obviously, you know, I got some weight to lose, so that's what I'm working on. But yeah, let's check out the comments. Yeah, I'm like right at 190 right now. 190 pounds. What does it say? I love Jesus. Jesus Christ, y'all. yeah, I guess that's about it, man. I'm gonna hop off of here. I'm gonna get rinsed off and go on about my business. Love and respect. Shout out to the Iron Wolf Pack. Shout out Burpee Gang. Shout out to the GP Life. Thank you, everybody. All the YouTubers commenting your support, man. I appreciate you. And remember, if you reach out to me on Instagram, David Sabo 405. If you want to join us for some burpees, we do it every single night. Peace.